We are not at school just to finish the exams.
I wanted to say ben bir mağaza önünde ineceğim.
You speak Turkish. And
I
you remember? Come on, you do. Like much better than
I speak
He always-
broken B-R-O-K-E-N Turkish. Yeah, it's Kanka, Türkçe konuşma.
Sometimes you're just learning a new language because you need friends in future.
Like this? Right. They play this, yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of ELT with Sarvi. Today, I'm here with Farbod, a friend and colleague who works at Bahçeşehir College.
Colleges, let's say. There are a lot of them.
The point of this video is to talk about the expat life, necessarily the expat life of an English teacher working in Istanbul. If you remember, in the last episode, I was talking to Gökçe and I already told you that I was going to have a guest, and here we go.
Yeah. So, should I introduce myself here? Well, actually, you told my name. My name is Farbod. Sometimes it's difficult to pronounce, so I just sometimes make it into a, let's say, cut it short into a nickname, which is Fred, especially in Starbucks. I've been here for 2 years.
So in a Starbucks, you tell them you are Fred?
I'm Fred, yeah. And they think I'm American, which makes it more special.
Okay. And actually, that's a good beginning. They think that you're American.
Yes.
Do you like being an American?
Sometimes as an English teacher working in a foreign country, it is as if some people, not learners, especially their parents, it is as if they expect you to be a real native and they think it really makes a big difference. I can say it doesn't, but I think a teacher who hasn't used English as, let's say, their mother tongue is more familiar with the challenges of learning a new language instead of acquiring the English language. So I have been a learner. I have an idea what a learner may go through when learning some vocabulary, some grammar. I think I can have a better understanding of how to teach that grammar, how to teach those words, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm afraid maybe, I don't know, a real native doesn't have an idea what challenges learners face, okay? But no offense, let's say, I'm not criticizing their work. Sometimes they are familiar with more natural and, let's say, frequent phrases, especially when it comes to phrasal verbs. Mm-hmm. They know them better. So I can say having the foreign teacher whose main language, mother tongue, isn't English, has some pros, while having an American or British or Australian or Canadian teacher has some other. Okay.
I mean, of course, that's not the topic of this video, but right after he said I call myself Fred when I go to Starbucks, I remembered like the big discrimination that we face.
Yes, sometimes. Yes.
Especially as, I mean, I don't know, maybe the other countries have it as well. I haven't met a lot of other expats. I have met mostly, Syrians here and also Nigerians. And I can see that...
Ghanaians, I have a friend who works at the same camp.
And they face the same issue.
Actually, the thing is that sometimes Nigerians, Ghanaians, they can be considered as real natives, okay? Because English has been spoken in those countries for such a long time. You know, my friend Gafar speaks very, very good English, and he speaks it as his mother tongue. But still, because he comes from Ghana, sometimes they don't see him as a native speaker.
I mean, yes, it's all about your nationality. Recently, I was talking to, I guess I already told you, I was talking to some Chinese recruiters.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a mess. Like, the moment I just started speaking, or the moment I sent them my video of introduction and everything, they asked me right away, where are you from?
Where are you from?
And I was like, don't you want to know like what teaching skills I have, how many years I have taught English and everything? And it felt really, really bad. So I think, yes, it's not that much related to the expat life, but it actually does.
It actually, yeah, it is.
I mean, right,
it's related.
because like we are here and we stay here with our work permits, And it is really hard from time to time, especially when we want to change schools, going from this school to that school. It's really different from a Turkish citizen deciding whether he or she wants to work in this school or wants to go to another one. I mean, we have to like consider a lot of different things apart from the salary, like the administration and everything else. We have to consider the fact that, okay, if I want to stop working for this organization, I might have to think about going back home.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're right. Actually, the thing is that going back to China, actually, you were talking about some recruiters in China. I remember I saw a job advert which asked you to not only be a native speaker of English, but also have a passport of those countries, okay, showing that you have recently been working in Canada, for example, teaching English in Canada, which is, I think, a bit absurd because a lot of even native speakers of English move to other countries to teach their language to non-English speakers, Turkish people, Iranians, I don't know, Arabs in UAE especially and Oman, they recruit a lot of native speakers. But they expected you to have just left your own country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. So we can say one of the challenges of being an expat working in another country is that if you are especially as an English teacher, is that
you need to accreditate yourself on and on. Okay?
Well, you have to prove all the time that I can speak English perfectly, although I haven't been born in an English-speaking country, which is absurd. I mean, I sometimes feel like I sometimes feel exactly how Black people, or is it correct if I call it Black people?
Say African.
Like I guess it's not right to say it like that, but like I totally feel how they feel, how they felt, let's say, back when they told them, okay, you're not allowed to use this toilet, you're supposed to use that toilet. It feels exactly like that.
The same thing. But I think that depends on where you work also. I have never had this feeling in this college, but in my previous one, I remember we had a parents meeting, and then the parents were, both of them actually, mom and dad were present, and there was another teacher translating for us because I needed to give some comments about the student. Most of the time, mom was talking, and the dad was kind of frowning and not talking, and then finally, as the very last question, he asked, may I ask where your teacher is from? And then I said, I'm from Iran. And then he frowned. He meant, I'm not happy with spending my money for a teacher of English who's not from one of those English-speaking countries. This is what I understood from that frown. And then, unfortunately. But it happens rarely, I think. Now, people have gained more awareness.
And one more thing, like when you were talking, I know that from the way you speak about your colleagues at the college and everything, I can totally get that you have you have built great rapport with them, almost with all of them.
Especially because I can say...
Because you're good at flirting?
No, not really. I think they are really welcoming, from the very, let's say, beginning session. The first time I went there for a demo lesson, I got familiar with some students whom I was teaching this year. Last year, they were prep students, and they were there so that I can teach them for a kind of demo lesson. This year, they were ninth graders, and they were my students, actually. So I had the feeling that, even last year, this time, before officially entering the college, I had made some connections. And as I mentioned, maybe it's a matter of experience, I'm not sure. But, my colleagues never make a fuss about anything. It's really important.
But I think there is a reason. Like, my guess, you correct me if I am wrong, you speak Turkish. And I remember, come on, you do. Like much better than
I speak broken, B-R-O-K-E-N Turkish. Yeah, I can
speak. But he really tries. I mean, one thing that I really like when I'm hanging out with him is that he tries. Whenever we go somewhere together, I can totally see that when we see like other Turkish people around, he tries to connect. He tries to make even like small talk, which I'm not good at, especially in Turkish. But you finally do it.
I usually do it, and finally I make a fool of myself because sometimes, just last night I was on a taxi, and the driver was kind of a really, I can say, kind guy who was trying to communicate with me. And then we were talking. At the end, I wanted to say, just drop me off in front of a shop. The sentence had to finish like this. I wanted to say, ben bir mağaza önünde ineceğim. It means I will get off in front of a shop. But I said ben bir mağaza, which means I am a shop. I am a shop. And then the guy was, abi ne söylüyorsun? Ben bir mağaza. Actually, I'm a shop. Then he was wondering what he said. No. Yok. İneceğim. I'm going to, just drop me off here.
I know, but...
Yeah, but I try, because I like the language.
Wait. I mean, it really helps. I mean, he's trying to be, like, modest or humble or whatever we can call it here. But you also know that it happens for everyone when you try to speak their language and they know that you don't speak their language well, but they see the attempt, they see that you're trying. I mean, it helps a lot. And you also told me before that when you share like a little bit about your own life, not exactly personal, private stuff, but when they know more about you, just like as students, sometimes as icebreakers, we do it, right? We share like a photo of our own pet, maybe a family photo or something. Like you build up connections that way.
I think this is a feature of Turkish culture. This is what I have felt, let's say, not what I have learned or read somewhere, okay? But I think Turkish people will be more welcoming when they see that you share a part of your, not really private, but let's say a bit more personal part of your life, because it is as if they like to feel that they are comfortable enough so that they can also share something with you. And when you build up this connection with them, I think they're simply great, because this is exactly why I think I have a good connection with my coworkers. I really like them at work. One of our coworkers has a son who is like 20 years old, I think 21. And sometimes, she shares something about her son with me. We talk about the son.
In Turkish?
No.
In English?
Yeah, because she's also an English teacher. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, it is as if we know each other's families,
Speaking of the Turkish culture, you just mentioned like how you can build up rapport and connection with them. Has there ever been like a moment when you were faced with a habit or, I don't know, like maybe something they do that you were shocked or surprised or
some things probably we do that they are shocked because we are new here. Sometimes our habits are weird.
Wait. We will get to that. Mm-hmm. But like before that, has there ever been like a time that you were surprised with a sort of culture shock maybe?
Currently, right now, I cannot remember any specific instance because simply there were a lot of them. Because when you are new in a country...
Come on, it's all about the kissing. Have you seen them? Like they go for... Mwah, mwah, mwah. Like it doesn't stop.
When it comes to kissing, especially, this is something I wanted to tell you. We have a kind of joke in Iran when it comes to our new year. There is always a joke. They say, you should determine, is this year a 2-kiss year or 3-kiss year? Because we Iranians sometimes kiss on both sides. Sometimes we go for the third one. We go back to the left side. Yeah. But here, I think the good thing about, greeting in Turkish is that it is always two. So like it's the person on the one side, then you go to the other side and it's done. But I always, as an Iranian person, go for the third one, and they are kind of
shocked.
Weren't you? Well, yeah. So
like for me, it's like I've always done it once. Like I hug and it's done. But like I hug and then they just get separated and they go for the second one and I think
they hug on both sides. This is something I've heard. They hug you and then again on the other side. Okay?
Which is so strange.
No, it's not. It's kind of...
Last time I thought that a guy was about to like kiss me. I was like, I panicked. Like the first time that it happened, I really panicked because it was a colleague and I didn't know him much. And like he went for the first one. I was like, okay, this is okay. And then the second one, I was like, okay, dude, what are you doing?
Actually, this is something that happened to me with the third kiss on the cheek. I went there and then my coworker was kind of shocked. But in general, although we have a lot in common in terms of culture with Turkish people, sometimes their culture is more European-like and we are more Middle Eastern, okay? So when it comes to kissing on the cheek between men, some Turkish people don't like it and they don't do this. They don't find it really appropriate, okay? But we Iranians just easily do, okay? We even men kiss each other on the cheek. And I've seen that they, instead of kissing, they do something with their foreheads. Have you seen it?
What do they do?
Do you want to try it now in front of the camera? It is like this.
Like,
just, yeah.
What?
And then, like this.
Right. This is what they do?
Play this. Yeah, this is the men do this. And it's, actually, it replaces kissing on the cheek, I've heard. I've seen, actually. Oh. And sometimes when they do this, I go for the kiss and they are again.
What are you going to do, dude? Stop. Yeah, I know. So, all of these like differences, do you think that they work well in the classroom as a teacher? I mean, let's make it more about the expat teacher life right now. Okay, so how do you think it works out? Is it beneficial in the classroom, you think? Like, do you think that you could add some value being like an expat? Or you think like, no, these two things are two separate things, like being a teacher and worse a lot?
No, I think this is what I've learned, that learning starts from reports, okay? So if you don't create, let's not say have, because this is something you have to create. If you don't create a good relationship with students, they won't learn anything from you, okay? They first need to like you. Maybe not all of them, because it is impossible to make everyone happy, okay? But sometimes you have to create a good connection first, and then you can teach them. A big part of it happens with the fact that they see you are trying to communicate with their culture. I don't know how to explain this really, but as an English teacher in general, you're often told that no L1, no L1. In Iran, they said no Persian. Here in Turkey, we say no Turkish, okay? But sometimes to create that report, you need to communicate and you need to touch that part, you know?
Exactly.
Sometimes, for example, I see a student is speaking in Turkish and I want the person during the pair work, I want them to switch to English. I start saying something in Turkish to make them laugh, and then I often see that they switch it to English. For example, I say, Kanka, Türkçe konuşma. Sadece İngilizce. And when they see that you are actually, I don't know, it's a kind of...
You're trying.
Yeah, it's a kind of connection. It is as if you're trying to make them laugh. Because they like you, they try to obey you as a teacher, okay? Because they say, yeah, the person is learning my language. Why shouldn't I learn what he's trying to teach me?
It's actually one of your strengths. I mean, I always reflect after talking to Farbod, because I myself, I'm a strict teacher, okay? Let's face it. And I sometimes have a lot of rules. I recently have figured that...
It's life, but yeah.
No, like rules that I am not ready to overlook, you know? Like, how can we say that?
You do not bend those rules.
Exactly. Like, there are times that we need to overlook and we need to be able to change the rules that are not helping that much in the classroom. Exactly. Every once in a while, you need to look at what you're doing in the classroom and be ready to make changes. And when you were talking about like speaking maybe a sentence or two sentences in Turkish and then looking at like the reaction of the students and using it as, you know, like building rapport with the students, that is, for me, it's like, no.
Sometimes it is frowned upon, honestly.
No. I mean, it works for you. You feel like you feel like you are closer to your students, and if you are closer to your students, then that's like, what do we call, like deal breaker? Like, it works.
It does.
So, but for me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for me, it's like, usually, I guess I enjoy that feeling of being different. You know, I enter a classroom, I start speaking, and students usually start with, teacher, where are you from? And I think I like that feeling of them feeling like I have no idea about their own mother tongue language. And now, I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad. it can be good because at times it helps me communicate in English, especially with the younger ones.
Yeah.
Younger ones never try to speak Turkish with me because they totally feel that she doesn't understand it and they trust that you don't understand it.
Sometimes let me tell you about some of the cons of what I do, okay? Sometimes as soon as they see that they are comfortable with you, they ramble on in Turkish. Sometimes, for example, they have a question, they come to me and keep on talking in Turkish. I say, please in English, okay? And then sometimes I even admit that, yeah, I understood what you said, but I'm not going to let you go to, I don't know, toilet or drink water as long as you are talking in Turkish.
Exactly.
Say it in English. It's a simple question. And most of them are good at English, so why not?
Yeah. But at the
Because
same
they are
time-
there for English. Actually, they know perfect Turkish. But sometimes, yeah, it works like a joke. It doesn't.
So there is a fine line. I mean, I already think that we need to be authentic and we need to tell them. I mean, I hate it when they say that, go and tell them your name is, I mean, that's why in the beginning I was a little like sarcastic to Fred and Freddie, because some institutes, like I know some institutes and some schools in Turkey are asking people that are non-native teachers to claim that they are native, to tell lies, which I hate it to tell the truth. I mean, why are we doing this? I can make...
At school, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go
At school, I insist that I am Farbod, okay? But for a person who's going to meet me maybe only once, I don't know, at a coffee shop, I don't want to give them a hard time pronouncing.
When you're picking girls?
Yeah. No, look, for example, the guy is going to write my name on a Starbucks container. And when I say Farbod, it's a bit difficult for them to spell it.
I know.
So I say just Fred, and they are more comfortable with it. But at school, I never claim that I'm a native speaker because, first of all, I don't look like them. I think I look like a Middle Eastern. Yeah, really, I do. And also,
You can comment us and tell us if you think otherwise.
no, I do. And I like to look like a Middle Eastern because I'm from there and I'm happy with that. So I don't think I look like a native speaker, but I have seen, yeah, you're right. We had a friend who didn't even look a bit like a Westerner, but they had asked him to introduce himself as that name, like Michael. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's sometimes, sometimes foreigners make you do that because you want to sell them some service, educational service, but you think that they expect you to give them lessons with native teachers, so...
But it's again a culture. I mean, we are the ones that, not as teachers, we are bringing a new culture to the classroom as well.
Yes.
And we are supposed to be the ones that can change that. Like we are trying to change people's perspective towards discrimination. And this one is actually one of them. So I think we need to work on this at some point as well. But like, we forgot to talk about something important. I actually wanted to talk about this in the beginning, but you talked about Starbucks and I forgot about it. So
Yeah, when it comes to Starbucks, she gets too excited and she forgets everything.
But let's talk about this. How did you come here? I mean, you didn't
By
tell...
plane.
No, come on. You didn't tell anybody like the story of how you decided to actually become an expat. Why did you become interested in coming to Turkey?
It has multiple reasons, okay? Sometimes when it comes to immigration, a lot of people go directly to economic problems, okay? I mean, natives think that you have come here because there were a lot of economic problems in your country. That can be sometimes true about many different countries, and Iran is no exception. But when we were working in Iran, I had a feeling that my life was suffering from a kind of inertia. You know what I mean? I used to teach IELTS, so I had my own lesson plans and curriculum and syllabus. Everything was ready. Every day, since sometimes 8, sometimes 9:30, I used to do same thing until 9:30 at night. And I had a feeling that I'm not enjoying this anymore, although it has become really easy. Or maybe because it had become really easy. I was not enjoying it. I needed a kind of challenge. Maybe 3 months before deciding to come here, 3 months before flying actually here, Uh, I wasn't even thinking of moving from my country. But suddenly one day I realized that I'm not happy with the language school I was managing. So I sold everything. And a very important thing was that I had a feeling that I was doing everything with just mere experience, you know. At that time, it had been 7 years or 8 years that I was working. And I thought that I need a kind of a formal education. I'm not talking about academic or university education. But I thought that I needed a course actually, to teach me new things or to make me feel sure that the things I was doing were, I mean, some parts of it were wrong, some parts of it were academically right. I needed to learn a new thing. So I decided to come here and take the self-taught course. So for the first month that I was here in Turkey, I was doing the self-taught course, but I was quite sure that I'd like to stay here after my self-taught. So when coming here, I brought everything, not everything that I had, because let's talk about material things. I brought all my clothes, I don't know, my personal stuff, and I stayed here, and it's been 2 years.
Okay, one question now. I mean, it's really interesting for me to know if that background, like you were like somebody for yourself back in Iran, like a teacher, you had an institute of yourself. Do you think that background, that educational background helps right now? And if yes, how?
Actually, here I have to divide my answer into 2 parts, okay? If we're talking about background and how it has helped me, I can say that yes, it does, because in Iran, fortunately or unfortunately, let's say, there's no copyright. So you have free access to a lot of material. I have personally taught a lot of different course books. So when it comes to choosing or developing some material for students, I know a lot of course books to adopt material from.
We are not proud of that.
We're not proud of that because it is simply stealing. I hope they don't come and...
But unfortunately, we have a lot of sanctions at the same time. You know, like it's not that we don't want to buy things from peers.
I don't want to buy things from peers.
Come on.
No, I'm kidding. Actually, this is one of the good things now about Turkey. I think in terms of hardware, Turkey is a good place. Okay, most of the time schools are really equipped with good hardware, and when it comes to accessing online platforms like Pearson Education, I don't know, National Geographic ones, list goes on and on, like Oxford, Cambridge. Most of the time schools buy some accounts from them, and then you can access a lot of different material. So combined with my experience of teaching a lot of different material in Iran, I think now when I want to teach something like, let's say, first conditional, sometimes I use my materials from the course book. Sometimes I develop materials. This is what I learned and perfected, let's say, during self-taught. Or I sometimes remember many different parts from many different course books, and I just go and give Fatih Bey. Yeah. He copies those things and I use them in class.
Let's say that for me personally, I remember I started teaching when I was like 18 or 19. Those who know me know that, especially the ones that we were working together in Kish Institute back in Iran. And I remember we had only a bunch of flashcards and a ball and like 2-3 markers. We didn't even have purple. I was always looking for purple markers, and they were so expensive back then. So I remember that most of my salary were going for buying new markers and like changing the flashcards and everything. Thank God flashcards were provided by the institute, but like there were too many things that were really expensive and I had to like purchase them myself. But at the same time, we never had all of these like online platforms and everything back then
because of sanctions.
Like for a long while, we didn't even have those CD players and everything. Everything was being done through tapes. I totally remember that. And I was working in a parking lot. You know, like the parking lot was for kids. It was like the men branch, and I remember we had nothing. So that thought of you have nothing and you have to make use of everything you can see around you made me a better teacher, I think. I always have to, find a way to be more creative and to make use of everything around me, which, yes, was not right. I mean, we are working in 21st century, right?
We don't need to suffer ourselves, you're right. But at the same time, I think it worked a lot because a lot of English users in Iran, I think, are good ones.
And the reason is that,
the price was that teachers were kind of burned out.
Exactly.
They experienced burnout.
Like there were times that we couldn't gain access to anything, and I was like, what does the eye tools of this book even look like? I want to just see it once.
I remember there were some Cambridge IELTS books. I don't remember which number it was, because now I think the most recent one is Cambridge IELTS 17, if not 18. There was a kind of QR code, which meant that instead of using the CD, you could just access the QR, and then it would lead you to a website from which you could download the listening files. I used it, and it said that because you are from
this country,
you cannot. I am not sure if it was filtered. I don't know. Maybe sometimes they filter it themselves. I mean, back in my country, and then you have to blame them, not the
No, I think it was blocked from the source.
I don't remember, but a very simple thing. You couldn't access.
Yeah, which is terrible. So let's say that, yes, it's really hard and it sucks working in that environment.
Yes.
But at the same time, because sometimes I hear even my supervisor sometimes talks to me and says that you guys, especially my previous supervisor used to tell me that you guys know how to deal with anything. Like, we give you this, you manage it. We give you this, you manage it.
We have become a bit resourceful.
Because we had to learn to find our way around it all the time.
Well, there used to be a manager of Bahçeşehir. I mean, he was the head of English education, Matthew Benton, whom I met during BKMUN back in January. And he was such a friendly and approachable guy. Now I'm kind of sad that he has left. But the first thing he asked when he realized that I was Iranian was the same thing. He said, why are you Iranian English teachers so hardworking, so good? And probably I could give such a long explanation of the reasons.
We're arrogant, okay?
We're not arrogant.
In parentheses. We know that we're not
perfect.
But
actually, no, we're not perfect. Actually, I can say that we also have a lot of our own flaws, okay? But in terms of knowing a lot of different resources, I think we are.
Yes.
Because we had to go through a lot of sanction stuff and we had to circumvent them. Yeah. But we also have our own flaws. We talked about the background, but let me talk about the differences that we are experiencing here. Okay. You mentioned the age I was working with. I used to work with adults, for most of my teaching career. But when I came here, even if you teach at a high school, the people you work with are maximum 16-year-old or they are 16 years old, 17 at best. And most of 12th graders don't have English as a part of their syllabus. So it means 11th graders who are 16 or 17 sometimes. It needs more flexibility, okay? Because the rapport you make with adults is different from the rapport you make with teenagers. Mostly because an adult comes and pays you himself to be in your classroom. But when you teach at a school, your lesson is one of the lessons among many. You know what I mean? And sometimes you need to create a lot of attraction for students so that they like your lesson, they attend your lesson, they try to be active in your lesson. It takes a lot of effort sometimes. I wish we can, adapt ourselves to this situation better. This is something that I sometimes I wonder how I can improve this. When it comes to physics, mathematics, sometimes biology, they like those lessons more because they think they are simply more important for their future, okay? But making students like English, I think, is a whole different area of...
For me, when you said it, I remember that these days, after their final exam, they're still teaching, for 2 more weeks. And the students keep asking me, but the exam is done, why are we still reading? And I'm like, dear, remember, we are not at school just to finish the exams. We're here to, I think the whole idea, the whole point is how consistent you are with the objective of the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You need to keep reminding them that we are not here for the exams. Not all of the lessons are going to be for that particular job that you are searching for. Sometimes you're just learning a new language because you need friends in future,
And I also tell them that whatever job you do, English is lingua franca. Wherever you are from, you may like your L1, you try to preserve it, but you have to accept that English now is the lingua franca, international language, okay? So, whatever job they do, they still need to learn that English so that they can work abroad, they can just improve in their own field. This is what I always try to help them understand.
Farbod, I hate the idea of us always telling them that you're learning this for a job, you're learning that for the university, you're learning this for, blah, blah positions. There are some, I want them to be able to improve that.
Social side.
Yeah, the social side, that real life situation that is already there. Yes, you will need a language, not exactly because you want to become blah blah manager in blah blah company abroad. Maybe you actually want to stay here in Turkey, but you want to have people, friends from other countries because it helps us grow.
It helps us grow.
So I want them to actually have this idea as well.
It's not only limited to English, actually. When you learn a new language, it gives you a new viewpoint. That's why sometimes, even my Turkish coworkers, not in my college, actually I remember in my ex-college, sometimes they ask me, okay, why are you going to learn Turkish? You are working here as an English teacher, so just go with English. And then when you go to, Migros or different places, you can just make yourself understood by basic Turkish. But I think when I learn Turkish, I can have a new viewpoint to the world because Turkish people have their own unique look at the world, okay? Like I as an Iranian do, like your Arab friends as Arabs do, like Americans do. So I think learning a new language, not specifically English, helps with that, really. It helps you.
We need to practice Turkish together.
I can't. I don't know good feature.
We will learn that, okay? We will learn that.
I think the correct one is çalışacak, which means we will practice in future.
We will. We really
if
will.
I'm wrong, please
comment for us the correct one.
I'm sorry.
So if we want to continue, I'm sure we can still continue. But I have an idea. You tell me if you're up for it. How about we talk about your CELTA course in our next video? I guess there might be people that want to know more about the CELTA course. I have passed it, you have passed it, so maybe in the next video we can talk about that.
Actually, both of us have passed it in the same place. Maybe we will have a lot of different things to talk about, especially when it comes to that center we did our course in. Yeah, why not?
Okay, so
I'd be glad to.
Until that time, stay tuned. And don't forget to subscribe to ELT with Sarvi. He doesn't have any social media right now. He doesn't even have Instagram right now. So
look, sometimes people see me and they think that I am coming right from 14th century. If I didn't need WhatsApp for my professional reasons, just believe me, I would remove my WhatsApp.
But really, we will come back to you with another video soon, and I will make him create Instagram one more time.
Okay, no, I'm going to talk about the content, drawbacks of having Instagram.
Bye-bye for now. Bye.
It's great to be with you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay.